Hi there, welcome to Two Birds. I'm Fiona, and today's class is a 60-minute restorative class. It's a sequence of postures to help you gently unwind and help to bring you back to a state of harmony and comfort in your body. So if you're feeling at all overwhelmed or stressed, fatigued, or you just like some quiet refuge, then this is an ideal class. You will need some props for class, but I've tried to keep these to a minimum. So the only essential prop you'll need is a blanket. As an option, you might like to have a yoga bolster or a big European pillow, and also a yoga block, but in place of a yoga block, if you don't have one, you can use a large book. I've tried to minimize the construction time with all the pose set up so I don't disrupt your piece. And sometimes in restorative classes, all the setups can kind of tax your spatial reasoning. So I've just tried to keep it really simple so it is very restorative, very calming, and it helps to transform however you're feeling now. So I do hope you enjoy. Thank you for joining. Namaste. Begin your practice today by taking your blanket and rolling it up into a sausage. We're going to start on our backs in Supta Baddha Konasana, reclined bound angle pose. So here, take your soles together and your knees will come out wide to the side, and just placing the blanket that you've rolled up over the arches of your feet, and tuck the blanket around to support your outer knees and thighs as you recline back. And once you're on your back, just ensure you feel straight through the length of your spine. Try and minimize the arch in your low back, but maintaining your spine's natural curvature. So there's still a little hollow in the back of your neck and your low back spine. And with the support of the blanket, allow the inner seams of your legs from your pelvis to your knees to release outwards. So the outer hips, the buttocks, your legs can soften into the support of the blanket. And once you feel comfortable, just gently close your eyes and settle in. Take a few deep breaths. And in this practice, we'll explore the yogic concept of Sattva, which is all about cultivating a feeling of contentment, peace, and equanimity. By deeply relaxing our physical body and just settling our breath, we can really begin to ground the activity of our minds, and not only freeing up energy reserves in our body, but accessing this feeling of softness, of ease, clarity and perspective, otherwise known in the yoga tradition as Sattva. And once you're settled, just begin by simply acknowledging how you feel as you start your practice. Scan your body and fill your body with your awareness. And notice how your body responds. Does it begin to soften Or can you notice pockets of resistance? And with your eyes closed, feel the weight of your skull and your pelvis, your body's footprint on the mat, your physical body. Check in with the flow of your thoughts moving through your mind. And then placing one hand on your chest, take a moment to feel the physical beat of your heart. And let your awareness just settle into this rhythm. And drop your attention a little deeper, just sensing your emotional landscape. And you're trying not to linger here, just observing, getting a sense of the overall tone of this moment. Notice the relationship between your emotional state and your breath. Between your feelings and your physical body. And finally, just feel all these dimensions at once. Physical, energetic, mental and emotional. And simply rest in this spatial awareness. And begin to breathe a more deliberate breath now. Inviting a lightness and brightness into your body with your breath. And as you breathe a more intentional breath, you're increasing the amount of pranic energy in your body. You're toning and awakening the lungs. And you're building a more resilient nervous system. Just allowing yourself to really drop in, connecting with your breath. Inviting yourself to fully inhabit this easeful experience. And take another 5 cycles of breath, unhurried. Deeply breathing in and out. And slowly, slowly bringing your knees in toward each other and taking the blanket to one side. And gather the knees in toward your chest and rock a little side to side. And feel free to keep your eyes closed here. And gently take your feet to the floor and walk them away from one another to the edges of your mat. Knees are bent. And allow your knees to knock in toward each other so they touch. And try and sense a long, unwrinkled feeling through the front of your spine, the back of your spine, smoothing out your upper back and aligning yourself here. Once you're comfortable, extend both hands toward the ceiling and cross your right arm over the left arm and let your arms hug your chest, creeping your fingers around to your shoulder blades and gently spreading through your upper back. And then simply release all effort in your arms. Feel their weight on your torso. Gravity lightly hugging you. And just feel this shape in your body. And sense your peaceful breath. Just pause and linger. And when we cultivate a sattvic attitude, it's not only about a sense of ease, but also clarity. And Sattva is the subtle aspect of our inner life, our inner ability to see ourselves clearly. And this translates into a quality of being compassionate with yourself. And this compassion, this softness can really be a form of strength. It enables you to experience life with understanding, regardless of whether the situation reflects this nature. And just notice here where you can soften. And then just keeping your eyes closed, reach the arms up and recross your arms there. So left arm over the top of the right arm. And bringing your fingertips around to your shoulder blades lightly. Spread the skin through your upper back and then just allow your arms again to relax. And just settle in. Feel the weight of your back, the back of your buttocks, your skull and your feet. And Sattva is all about our inner ability to see ourselves with clarity, seeing your own body clearly, your own thoughts clearly, and just reading the information that your body, your mind is constantly offering, and maintaining your composure, this equanimity, this sense of ease. And taking 5 more cycles of breath here. And gently, gently unraveling your limbs now. And bringing the knees in toward your chest, and when you're ready, rolling off to one side so you can slowly drag yourself up and make your way onto all fours. So here you might like to take a blanket underneath your knees for extra support. And placing your hands underneath your shoulders, knees underneath the hips. We're going to cycle through some very slow rounds of cat and cow, just taking this easeful feeling with you. You can keep your eyes closed. Gently arching and rounding your spine. And keep that feeling of softness in your body so all the movement feels gentle. And this very simple vinyasa of moving the spine, hugging and softening your belly, helps physically with digestion and breathes space and ease into your spine. So just find your own meditative rhythm, perhaps your breath a little ahead of your movement, so you feel in sync, soft, fluid and just nourished by the movement. And coming back to a neutral spine. And if you have a block or a book, you might like to place that now toward the top edge of your mat to rest your head as we come into Anahatanasana, heart opening posture. So keeping your hips above your knees, extend your arms forward and find the shape of downward dog in your upper body. So you're elongating your side waist, spine, spreading the sit bones. All your fingers spread. And once you arrive there, find comfort so you can rest your forehead on the block or to the floor. Spreading the architecture of your upper back to feel very broad and open without over effort. We're just here for 5 more deep breaths. And then as you feel yourself breathe out, just melt down onto your belly. And bring your forearms forward to set up for Sphinx pose. And you might like your blanket here for preparation, folded blanket off to your right side. And potentially, if you need a little bit more support for your low back in this back bend, you can fold the blanket and place it lengthways across your mat underneath your hips and belly to reduce the apex of the curve in the low back. So in all these postures, try and make it as comfortable as possible so you can fully relax and release. So here in Sphinx pose, lightly draw your chin in toward your chest. Your feet can be quite wide here, and they're lightly engaged. And we use this isometric movement of acting like we're drawing the elbows back without actually moving them as you move the ribs and chest forward. Your shoulder blades lightly squeeze in through your upper back. And feel the front of your body lengthening, your legs supporting you. And you can gently start to lift the gaze, perhaps taking it forward, keeping a uniform arch through your spine. And taking 3 smooth breaths. And from here, you're going to bend your right knee out to the side to a right angle. And this is where you might like to place your inner right knee on the blanket just for a little extra support. And you can keep your arms, your hands in this position here, or you can add on a shoulder stretch, just whatever feels most easeful for your body. So if you are taking that shoulder stretch, your left hand your arm can come down so it feels like you can have a cushion with the left hand. And then just go ahead, thread your right arm underneath your left armpit. Just notice how it feels if you didn't find that perfect spot when you first make your way into the pose. Adjust your body accordingly. Let it feel restful. And take 3 more deep breaths. And slowly unwinding from your shoulder stretch, come back onto your forearms. And if the blanket was helpful, you can shift it around to your left side now. Slide the left knee up to a right angle. And perhaps taking it on the blanket. There's no rush here. Making sure you still feel comfortable through your low back. And either keeping your forearms here or make a cushion with your left hand now. And thread your left arm underneath your right armpit. And just pause and linger, so you're just staying in this place of surrender. Feeling your breath touch the back of your body. And taking 3 more smooth breaths in and out. You can feel your belly moving on the mat. And from here we're going to transition into child's pose, so just gently unraveling, taking your hands by your ribs and gently gliding up onto all fours. And if you had a bolster and you'd like to use it here, you can take it to the middle of your mat lengthways. And taking your knees wide, take your big toes to touch. And then you're extending forward so you can lay yourself over your bolster and gently turn your head to one side, coming onto your right ear. Alternatively, you can pad your knees with a blanket, or take the block again to the top edge of your mat so you can rest your head if you'd like a little bit of additional support there. So if this is really uncomfortable for your knees, and we are going to stay here for a few minutes, we're taking a forward fold here. So if it's more appropriate, you can take your legs out in front of you into a V. And same thing, you can use the bolster lengthways down the middle of your mat to rest on. Eyes can remain closed. In this pose, the lumbar Balasana is so restorative. It allows you to really retreat from distractions. And because you envelope the whole front of your torso, it invites you to release and soften any sense of protective holding that you might be habitually accustomed to, particularly in your tummy. And often when you feel overwhelmed, you can really just relax here. Let your front body soften. And just sense now, if you can, a feeling of tenderness, softness, tranquility to melt inward toward your center. No effort. And if you had your right ear on the bolster, just really slowly, gently lifting, resetting, left ear down, just turning the head. And as you continue to rest, invite gravity to pull the legs deeply toward the floor, to release any lingering tension in the hips and the thighs. Softening the muscles in your lower back, melting the space between the shoulders. Find your ease. And just notice how your breath adapts to this shape, how your breath starts to expand more into your back to accommodate the ebb and flow of your breath. Reminding yourself to breathe and soften. Breathe and soften. And follow your next 5 breaths in and out. And just preparing to move, really slowly lifting up, walking the hands back. And for the next series of postures, we are moving down onto our backs. So you might like to have your bolster close by or a rolled up blanket, so you can just seamlessly transition into Savasana after the last few postures without having to get up again. Make sure you're warm, you're comfortable, and as you recline down onto your back, take your block with you. So the block is an option. It does allow you to really feel a back bend without any effort, feeling very supported. And that's the intention here. So even if you have a book, large book, take it now. So we're going to bring our hands down by the side of our body, knees are bent, feet are hip width apart. And then just take a moment to align your spine again. Heels quite close to your buttocks and your block handy. So coming into a supported bridge pose, we start by taking the block on its flat side, and this might be the only side available if you have a book, and that's okay. We're just going to gently slide the block underneath your pelvis, so just avoid placing the block on your low back. It should be positioned under your SI joint, so just placing the block widthwise across your SI joint so it supports both sides of the joint, and make sure it feels secure and you feel supported. So you've got this very mild arch to your spine. You can relax your neck and your throat and your jaw here. Eyes can close and try and feel the shape of your whole body. So just notice how your feet have landed here once you've set up. If you can keep a light weight through all four corners of your feet. Your thighs parallel with one another. Your eyes can close and your breath now deepens into the front of your body. And one of the key benefits of supported bridge pose is that it allows your head to rest below your heart. And in this position and your neck in flexion, it triggers a process called the barrow reflex, which suppresses the fight or flight side of your nervous system and actively moves you toward relaxation, slows your heart rate, reduces blood pressure, and once you feel settled here, just notice how you might be able to soften even more. So often we unconsciously grip in our bodies. Just allow your pelvis to feel heavy here. Your breath to feel spacious. And can you find that sense of ease, that clarity, even compassion in this shape that you've just made? And keep breathing, keep softening. If your mind has wandered, just land back in your body. as an option here, you might like to raise the block onto its narrow side, coming up a little higher, completely optional. If you're feeling very comfortable and relaxed, feel free to stay right where you are. Minimize the fidgeting in your body. Just be still. And then from here we are going to take the legs up toward the ceiling. So if you had the block on its higher side, just placing it flat once more, or removing the block altogether, you can place a blanket underneath the back of your buttocks. And just with control, taking both legs up toward the ceiling as if the soles of your feet are holding the ceiling up. Adjusting the block so it feels comfortable once again. Place a slight bend in the knees there. And if you need to make any adjustments, be compassionate with yourself. Smoothing out any wrinkles. So you can just settle in. And having the legs up in the air again, your head is below your heart. And you are reversing the blood flow in the legs here, which is very helpful for flushing your lymphatic system and reducing fatigue in the legs. And try and create that feeling of effortlessness. And just linger here for the next minute or so. And just using your arms and your upper body for support here, bending the knees and just stepping the feet down onto the mat and lightly lifting your hips, sliding the block out, and then just very slowly peeling down through your spine. And if it feels good, just take a few pelvic tilts to flatten out through the low back. And as you land, just keep the knees bent and just take a pause, let your energy settle. Breathe deeply out. And then just walk your feet away from one another to the edges of your mat. You might like to cactus the arms here, or take your arms out into a T. And let your knees fall over to the left side. Extending your right knee down toward the mat. Breathing into the right side, rib cage, right side waist. Mild twist through the spine. And your head could be in any comfortable position here. Sometimes it's just nice to keep it neutral. Or you could turn your gaze away from your knees. Your eyes can close. And take another 5 breaths. And sometimes doing very little can be so productive in your body, in your mind. Just allowing yourself to really settle and come back to your center. With a sense of ease, you can raise the knees and just windshield wiper them over to your right now. Light stretch through the top of your left thigh as you reach the left knee toward the floor. Relax your feet, your toes. And then just find that comfortable position for your head. And breathe, just breathe and soften. Breathe and soften. And take 3 more cycles of breath. And with a light engagement in your belly at the end of your exhale, drag the knees back up. And we are transitioning into Savasana from here, corpse pose. And so, to make this completely comfortable, you might like your bolster underneath your knees. You can roll up the blanket and place it there underneath your knees. Alternatively, you can have the blanket over you as a pillow. Just whatever's going to make you feel completely comfortable. So you can let your legs splay out either over the bolster or on the floor. You can rest your hands by your side, palms face up. Keep all your movements soft, nurturing. And if you haven't already, just closing down the eyes and resting deeply here. And having a sattvic attitude toward ourselves is really about developing a loving attitude toward ourselves. Allowing ourselves to practice without judgment of our bodies, to be kind, sometimes lenient on ourselves, and even having that willingness to feel vulnerable. And it's from this place you're able to experience an inner strength. When we accept where we are, we can maintain our composure, our equanimity. When we allow ourselves to feel vulnerable, we harness our own courage to stay open, to stay receptive. And when we direct our energy, our intentions, our conscious breath toward cultivating ease, our awareness naturally follows. And quite often that becomes our experience. So just noticing now, in this moment, toward the end of your practice, how you can soften emotionally, mentally, physically. Allowing the front of your body to gently recede back. Feeling your body weight empty. The weight in your heels heavy. The weight in your skull heavy. Gently, if you can imagine your brain softening into the back of your skull. Your eyes relaxing behind your eyelids. feeling the space around your heart center really melt. Your belly fully relaxed. Your body fully still, except for the gentle rhythm of your breath. And with your vivid, present awareness, feel your body breathing calm and at ease. And just very gently now, guiding your awareness back. Stretching out your inner landscape with your breath, sending your breath in all directions. And then bring some movement to your hands, your feet. And when you feel ready, bend the knees. Take your feet to the floor, and if you had a bolster there, just sliding it out to one side. And rolling gently over to your right, take a few moments and let your eyes naturally adjust to the light in your room. And slowly drag yourself all the way back up. And I hope you've enjoyed this restorative class today. Thank you so much for joining. Namaste.